This is the new TC Pride Podcast, episode 45, part 3 of on-location coverage of a special screening of Project Q with Sarah McPeck. TC Pride Podcast, we were on location at Lush for the Big Fat Comedy Hour and a very special screening of the film Project Q. And I'm here with the producer of the film. Would you please introduce yourself and talk about how you got involved?
Yeah, hi, my name is Sarah McPeck. I'm a local comedian and improviser. I decided to make Project Q after performing in the queer arts and getting to know so many amazing performers. But at the time, I was living in Prior Lake, a suburb about half an hour away, and I had never heard of these people. And that just made me see that there was a need to get information about these people out in the world, because there's a lot of queer people in the world that don't live in uptown Minneapolis, you know. And I started to talk to them and ask them if they would like their story to be told, and people believed in me, and we ended up making a pretty amazing movie.
Yeah, so I've been asking a lot of the artists tonight about what they would tell people outside of the Twin Cities area. You know, it's a podcast. Obviously, it goes, global, worldwide. What they would tell people maybe in different states, different parts of the country, different parts of the world about the Twin Cities community. But I guess I just thought when you were saying that you lived in the outer suburbs, right? Like, there are a lot of people probably even within the Twin Cities, metro area that don't realize the richness of the queer arts community in the Twin Cities.
I think one of the most important things is getting people out of the house in any entertainment. With technology, I think people are staying in more, and getting people to come and enjoy queer spaces is so important with building our community. And I think with now with our current social climate, it's even more important that we're patronizing queer spaces and restaurants and bars and performance artists. So what would I tell the world about the Minneapolis queer art scene? I would say that when you think Minneapolis, you think white bread, you think people who say oofta a lot, you think people who are very conservative. But I will tell you, the queer art scene is pushing every single boundary that there is. You are going to find people that are going far beyond, I would say, or right on par with people in San Francisco and New York. So if you want to see something thrilling, exciting, people pushing boundaries, check out any number of queer events going on in the Twin Cities, and you will be amazed, and you'll get to be a part of something super special.
You said something in the film that was kind of surprising. You said you're from a small town. You talk about that in the film, and you said you went back for your reunion, and you were kind of surprised that people that are sort of maybe outside of urban centers, that maybe you're small town, quote unquote small-minded small town people, can be surprisingly open-minded and accepting of a lot of things that maybe us here in these dense urban centers who maybe think that we're so sophisticated and progressive and right that we wouldn't expect people in middle of nowheresville to be open and accepting of queer culture. But you said that sometimes that could be quite the opposite.
Absolutely. I mean, we are capable of judging others as well, even though we get judged ourselves. And I think we're always thinking of the world outside, and we do have to remember that there is good, that people who don't necessarily live in urban areas, they still support us. They still support LGBT folks. They still understand it. They get it. They're not all like people from Deliverance or something like that. These crazy Republican Jesus pounding. I mean, I have nothing against religions, and I don't really have anything against Republicans. Do what you got to do, whatever you believe in. I'm a strong Democrat. Just want that to be said right now. But it is scary, I think, to go into a small community because it's a fishbowl mentality in these small communities. So why we think they'll judge us is because they don't have the freedom to talk about it amongst themselves too openly. That's not to say, though, that they don't. So, something that's important to me, too, is this is why another reason I wanted to make the movie, so people in these areas can start talking, so maybe they can relate. Anything that we can do with queer media seems to be the thing that is that normalizes things in our world today. So when you can turn on the TV and see a gay person, it's crazy to me that, like Modern Family, having Al Bundy on a sitcom that has gay people in it, really, like, just the average suburban small town people are loving that show, having a great time, and they think it's wonderful. It blows my mind, truly, So, hey, we got to use whatever we can.
So the film did a really great job of showing the richness and diversity of the queer arts community in the Twin Cities area. Just from your perspective, what are maybe some things that you noticed along the journey of making the film? Where would you tell people that maybe the queer arts community may be going in the next few years?
Well, gender seems to be playing a big part in a lot of like queer performance art right now. I see us really pushing like gender boundaries and I guess rules, quote unquote. But one thing that I do see happening and that I really want to help promote too is bringing queer audiences and traditional straight audiences together, where it's not just, I want to create those spaces where queer people can come in and just we're all together, but I also want it to be where your regular straight audiences are feeling comfortable to walk into a queer venue and enjoy the art and enjoy something new and to reach beyond them, and to know that if you walk into a gay bar or a queer event, I think we're getting enlightened enough that, people aren't like, oh, well, I'm worried people are going to think I'm gay now. It's like people think that's, I think, awesome, So that's what I hope to see.
So one theme that did come up in the film, seemed like a few times, was artists, queer artists, not necessarily wanting to be identified exclusively as queer artists necessarily, right? And you do talk about that in the film a little bit, but for people that haven't maybe seen the film yet, where do you stand on that? How do you feel about that?
Well, for me personally, I'm super out and loud about being a lesbian comedian. And I totally understand why other comedians or other singers or DJs or whatever, they don't want to be seen as the lesbians, whatever it is. And I totally get that. So I want people to, like I said, I want people to find me. I want people to know that I'm gay. I want my audience to find me. I am a niche performer. If I get my choice to perform for a queer crowd or to perform for a corporate crowd, I'm going to pick a queer crowd any day of the week, even if I'm not getting paid the same, because it's fun. Those are my people. I can identify with them. And it kind of is also, though, it's something that everyone gets to determine for themselves, just like their sexuality, and we do talk about it in that movie. So you'll find some people in the movie that identify exclusively gay or exclusively lesbian. You'll get people who don't want a label at all. And I like that we show that we all kind of have a different perspective, but we all agree that, we're queer on some level and we're here, and labels don't really matter. The only label that matters is the label you put on yourself and what you want to project out in the world, So
the last thing I want to ask you about is, I guess actually probably around the same time you started making the film, things politically in the U.S. have gotten pretty divisive in a lot of ways. And I guess since arts has been a thing and since politics has been a thing, they've just sort of been inextricably intertwined and interconnected. How do you think the current events that have happened recently, I guess like over the last year, have affected the queer arts movement in general, or how do you think they might continue to affect the queer arts movement going forward?
Well, you might want to try to bring us down, or the 45 might want to try to bring us down, but you can't stop us. More than anything in this harsh, scary political climate, what I've seen is people getting louder, people getting fiercer, people getting more bold, people coming together. So if anything, even though this is sad and horrible and I miss the Barack days and I am scared what's going to happen, what I love is that people aren't just not caring about government anymore. We're not just, I think we had so many wins that, and you know, I don't know enough politically to say what happened or how what happened, but I do know what I see is people getting involved, people writing letters, postcards, marching, creating art. They will never be able to keep us down, and the more you try to, the louder we're going to get and more in your face we're going to get. So, you know, thank you for that, I guess.
So how can people find you online? What are some other projects that you have kind of coming up here in the near future?
So my next big project, what we're talking about, is the Big Fat Comedy Hour at Lush. I'm super excited about that. I'm a teacher at the Brave New Workshop. I love teaching improv more than anything. So I don't really have a religion, but that's my religion. Saying yes to things, being present, being supportive. It's totally the way I live my life. I've got a couple of kids. I'm trying to get both of them to graduate high school right now. So I'm trying to be a good mom and be a performer and just try to make it till payday.
And you'll be, the filmmaker said that you're going to be submitting the film as well, sort of like to different film festivals and stuff going forward?
Yeah, Project Q is currently in process of putting out a lot of applications to film festival. We recently submitted to the Ashland Film Festival, Twin Cities Film Festival, Wicked Queer Improv Festival in Boston. So we have a lot that we're hoping to hear back from, and we're just going to keep showing this movie and doing our thing, and we're probably going to work on doing some shorts and see what the next story comes out, and probably do another movie. Yeah, absolutely. On Twitter, you can find me at Sarah McPeck, Renegade Hippo, Instagram, Sarah McPeck Comedy, and I have a website, www.sarahmcpeck.com.
Thanks so much for your time, Sarah, and good luck with everything you're doing, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ryan. We love Twin Cities Pride.
The TC Pride Podcast has been a production of Podletter Media and Twin Cities Pride. Subscribe now on iTunes or Google Play and submit your first Pride story at myfirstpride.org.